So you have seen the real purpose of interfaces. They allow us to build loosely coupled, extensible, and testable applications. Now, over the past few years, we have had a number of new features in Java that have changed the meaning of interfaces. And in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, this has been a bad direction. So over the next few videos, we're going to look at these new features, and I will explain why they are bad and why you should avoid them unless you really understand what you're doing and you have a valid reason for using these features. The first feature we're going to talk about is declaring fields in our interfaces. So here we can declare a field like float, minimum, tax. We set it to $100. All these fields are final, so they're constants, which means we should initialize them here and we cannot change their value in the future. Also, they're static, so we can use them like this. Let's go back to our calculator implementation. Here we can type tax calculator dot, there you go. So we're dealing with a public static final field. We cannot change its value to something else, okay? Now, the intention behind this feature is to avoid magic numbers, which are numbers that seem to pop out of nowhere. This makes our code cleaner and easier to maintain. But there are a couple of things we need to think about before using this feature. First, we need to see if this value is the same across all implementations. Is it possible that the minimum tax would change from one year to another? I think it's very likely. So this constant is something we should declare in our implementations, not in our interface. Because once we set it in our interface, we cannot change it, as you can see here. Now, let's imagine that here we're dealing with a really constant value that will never change, like the number pi, or the number of months in a year. The fact that we use this constant in our implementation is an implementation detail, and that should not leak to our interface. Why should other classes that use our interface know about this constant? For example, let's go to our main class and declare a new method, do something. Let's give it a tax calculator. So here we're talking to an interface. Why should we know that in this interface, there is a public static final field called minimum tax? This is an implementation detail. This is about how we calculate the tax. We don't want to worry about that because the hows may and will change. What if we change our algorithm tomorrow and we no longer need this constant? We have to go back to our interface and remove this field. And that means we have broken our contract. And this will impact all the classes that are dependent on this contract as well as their dependencies. So in my opinion, constants have no place in interfaces. And this is one of the bad decisions that the team behind Java has made. So this is what I want you to take away. Just because Java supports various features doesn't mean you should use them. You need to understand these features and their implications. Next, we're going to look at another bad feature in Java interfaces.